Mel, everybody, Cantonese Cat here. I haven't done a video for a very long time. I don't have my usual setup as I'm still traveling internationally. Don't have my mic available, so if you don't like the audio quality, then just skip the video. If you like, then keep listening in. I'm gonna try to share some quick thoughts here with Bitcoin and a couple of proxies, if you will, Microstrategy, Coinbase, and use Mara and CleanSpark as examples for the miners, which has completely lost favor from the retail community. First of all, looking at Bitcoin, am I bearish or bullish here? I am bullish, but with that said, we are running into some problems here. First of all, we are still in the process of trying to reclaim the 20-week moving average, kind of like we did over here, right? And you see how we look like we're going to reclaim it, but we end up just having a hard time holding on to it. So we might still have a little bit of battle over here, I don't know, but it's good to see that it's trying to reclaim the 20-week moving average. That is the first thing. The second thing is, if you're looking at the GAN that I have here on the weekly, that has been playing out extremely beautifully. You can see how this arc over here means something, this arc over here meant something. As it breaks out, went to the next arc, as it breaks out, went to the next arc, as it breaks out, went to the next arc. And when it has a hard time breaking through an arc, it basically trying to go back down here and trying to find some support down here below. Looks like we have found some pretty decent demand down here in the 70s, right? And guess what? We have basically trying to get back to the arc up here, and guess what? We're getting rejected here so far, right? Around 96,000 or so, give or take. That's going to be the level to watch, right? If we are not able to push through the arc here, it's still resistance, and we could go down. But do I think that we're going to go down that much further? I don't think so. Part of the reason why I don't think so is because I think that the momentum is now shifted towards the bulls. Because if you look at the daily chart here, this whole thing right here, the downtrend over here, was really on bullish divergence, and the bullish divergence is playing out, and so far we have a little bit of a bull flag up here, right? As you can see, this downtrend over here was also on bullish divergence, and next thing you know, that was kind of the bottom over here, right? And we end up having another leg move up. Do we end up shooting up all the way up in a straight line? No, we end up having a lot of volatility on the way up, right? So do I expect some volatility potentially with us getting rejected here at the horizontal zone and also the GAN arc? Could we expect some potential downward volatility before going up higher? It is possible. It's always entirely possible for it to backtest 88,000 or maybe even lower before going up higher, right? Regardless, I think that the bullish divergence here is playing out. And if you also look at this daily GAN chart here, and I've been following this daily GAN chart here for months and months and months, it has been working out extremely beautiful. You can see how price action was just stuck between these two arcs over here for about half a year. We have broken above the arc. We have finally broken above the arc. And we are riding the angle resistance up here, the 45-degree angle. We are riding the angle on the way up, right? Could we come back down and back test the arc, maybe even go back inside the arc here to the 88,000 zone before further bullish continuation? That's entirely possible. But it's important to note that we have broken above this GAN arc here that has served as very beautiful resistance and support here for quite some time. Now, if you're looking at the proxies here, you're trying to look at Bitcoin, you're like, okay, so it's looking more bullish, it's breaking out above, it's looking better and better. Should I use some kind of proxies to play Bitcoin, and what would be the best way to play Bitcoin? Everybody at this point is going to get programmed into looking at Microstrategy. One more thing I want to show too is holding the Tenkan here. As long as price is holding the monthly Tenkan, is bullish, right? Because you can see how in 2015, 2017, it basically ride the Tenkan all the way up to the top, right? And even during this like mini bull cycle here from 2020 to 2021, it was riding the Tenkan all the way up to the top. When it come back down to the kitchen, the red line, that's when things get a little bit tired, right? But so far we've just been taking a stepwise approach on the Tenkan on the way up. And this actually looks like a pretty bullish setup because you have all these wicks down below, and this is a little bit more like a morning star look to it, where you have a red candle, a little bit of doji here, and a green candle. This is a bullish formation, right? So would you want to play MicroStrategy? Am I bullish on MicroStrategy? Yeah, I'm pretty bullish on MicroStrategy because it got rejected here at 1.6 when it closed it again arc level, come back down to 1.272, holding as support for many weeks, right? Nice wicks down below, even touched the arc down here below. Initially, we have a hard time breaking above the 1.414 here on the first try. Come back down, found energy, found demand here again at 1.272, and we're able to push through. So far, we have a weekly close above the 1.414. That to me means maybe for a bullish continuation up here. Maybe back test the 1.414 first before going up. Who knows? Who knows which path is going to go? But it does gravitate up to the next level if we are convincingly able to close above the 1.414 back to the 1.618 here, and we'll see how it reacts here at the arc. Right? Is MicroStrategy the best play for Bitcoin if you're bullish on Bitcoin? This is an extremely challenging question to answer. My answer is I don't think anybody really knows, right? Because if you're looking back in terms of what happened on the last cycle, MicroStrategy topped out in February 2021, right? And it has struggled to make any higher highs since then. Whereas Bitcoin made a higher high later on in November 2021, right? So MicroStrategy turned out maybe because it's like a very leveraged play for Bitcoin, and whenever it's getting close towards the end of the cycle, it might end up underperforming Bitcoin, right? At the early cycle, it may end up overperforming Bitcoin. The late cycle may end up underperforming Bitcoin, right? It's very tough question to answer. But even the MicroStrategy chart right now, because it's broken back about the Tenkan indication here on the monthly, whereas last time it was underneath resistance here for almost a whole year. Right now we're above, so it favors for a bullish continuation. I am still going to be bullish on MicroStrategy until otherwise proven, right? Now, the question is MicroStrategy the best play for Bitcoin if you're bullish on Bitcoin? Very tough question to answer. Let's compare MicroStrategy to Coinbase. It has outperformed Coinbase ever since January of 2022. There's no question this is the weekly chart of MicroStrategy over Coinbase. This is a spread chart, right? A weekly chart. You can see that whenever you have an increase on this chart, that means MicroStrategy is outperforming Coinbase. And it has happened over here for quite some time on bearish divergence, and we end up having some relative underperformance of MicroStrategy over Coinbase here for almost a whole year until it picks up again, right? So you can see that bearish divergence, downward trend, bearish divergence being built up here, right? RSI is going down and the spread is going up. Does it mean that we might end up having some rotation from MicroStrategy over to Coinbase? That's possible. We're also going to look at another alternative thing here, including looking at MicroStrategy over Mara. Mara is underperforming MicroStrategy here for quite some time, right? Really ever since December of 2023, significant underperformance against MicroStrategy here. So you can see that it's going up on an ascending wedge here, which leans bearish, and you can also see that this is happening on RSI going down. You're building up a lot of bearish divergence over here, and it might be unsustainable. But with that said, because it's forming higher highs and higher lows, it can keep going up for a long time. But because it's been building up a lot of bearish divergence here for a very long time, I do wonder about the possibility of MicroStrategy maybe underperforming Mara at some point soon, if the bearish divergence continue to build up. Finally, I also want to show the bearish divergence has also been building up here with RSI for MicroStrategy over CleanSpark, right? You can see how whenever you have a bearish divergence here, it ends up playing up here, right? We're building up a bearish divergence here again, so it might end up playing up here again soon. We will see. I'm not saying that, you know, go all in with miners and all that, but it is interesting that right now the retail community are looking at MicroStrategy as the Bitcoin play. So it does make you wonder what's going to happen next. I do not know the answer to all these questions. I'm just here showing charts and let you know kind of what I'm seeing. Again, these bearish diversions can build up for a very, very long time, and you can have outperformance of MicroStrategy over Coinbase, Mara, or CleanSpark for a very long time. There's no guarantee, but I'm starting to see a little bit of exhaustion of MicroStrategy over the other potential, Bitcoin proxies, if you will. All right, guys, take care. Bye.